In December of 2018, we kicked off the 2019 series of the Why I Want videos, and we started off with the guy that I said was going to go third overall. That year, in the 2019 draft, he did, so I was very proud of that little prediction there. That player that we covered in the very first 2019 video was Kirby Dach, who eventually went to the Blackhawks and made the NHL right away. Now, in 2021, 2.5 years removed from that initial Kirby Dach video, we're making another video in the Why I Want series for another Dach that is eligible in the draft. What is up, your other Washington Blackhawks back here, and today we're making a Why I Want for Colton Dach. Thank you to those in the previous Why I Want video for Fabian Lysell who commented the flash. If you want a chance to be featured in the next one, then hey, stick around to the end of this video. But today we're going over our first guy that isn't really supposed to be a top-of-the-line, first-round caliber prospect. Everybody else we've covered so far, the Michigan boys, Luke Hughes, Johnson, Power, Beniers, you have the Lulia guys, Fabian Lysell, Jesper Wallstead, not to mention William Eklund too, and Mason McTavish and Brandt Clarke. These guys have all been top-of-the-line guys. But today we're taking our sights to the first player on the list who is not going to be one of these top 10, top 11, 12, 13 picks, and we're taking a look at Colton Dach. Now immediately, first thing you notice, yeah, that's Kirby Dach's younger brother. Kirby Dach is pretty good. I think he's a great player at the NHL level. I think he is unproven still, and he has a lot more to show off for himself, even though he had 10 points in 18 games this season for the Chicago Blackhawks. He was sidelined with a boatload of injuries and all that. It was really not good to see Kirby in this year's worth of NHL play. But Kirby Dach made his draft stock known because he was a big, powerful, two-way center with some pretty good passing ability and some offensive instincts. Back in his draft year, he was 6'4", 190-something pounds, which is really interesting, because Colton Dach, right now, as an 18-year-old January 4th, 2003 born player, is also 6'4", and he is 205 pounds. In fact, he is just a tad heavier than Kirby Dach is today, and he's 2 years younger. So, right away, really cool to see the brotherly connection there, just in terms of the physical frames that these two guys have. Colton Dach isn't necessarily the same effortless, high-octane, two-way playmaking center like Kirby was, but the things that Colton Dach does really well kind of reflect the same skills that Kirby has. It's kind of weird. Scouching said this on an episode of Scouching Live, but when you watch Colton Dach play, it's like you can really tell that him and Kirby are brothers. Even though Colton Dach has a little bit more of a polished wrist shot, I would think, and that's reflected in his overall stat line for this season. This year for the Saskatoon Blades, yeah, the same team that Kirby played for, Colton Dach was a point-per-game player, 20 points, 20 games played, he had 11 goals, and a whole bunch of the goals that he scored were really nice positional plays, either where he's driving to the net, getting a good shot off, or just absolutely beating a goaltender with a snipe. That's not to say that Kirby doesn't snipe it, it's just not a very big part of his game, comparative to how Colton, the younger brother, has it a part of his own. This is a report from thehockeywriters.com. That's not to say Colton is exactly like his brother. Colton is much more of a natural goal scorer. He would have translated, with his pace of goals this year, to about 37 goals over a full WHL season. To compare to the league's last full season, only 16 players equaled or surpassed that total in 2018-19. He's also capable at his best of finding players with long, crisp passes that create excellent goal-scoring opportunities, kinda similar to how Kirby Dach was more of a playmaker than a goal scorer in his WHL career. Now, for Colton Dach, he is absolutely not going to be the same third overall caliber guy like Kirby is. There are a few shortcomings in his game if you compare them to his older brother that make him not seen as a top-of-the-line, #1 elite guy like Kirby. Colton, though, however, has a very interesting draft stock, because he's ranked 100th by Future Considerations, 73rd by Smart Scouting, 73rd by TSN and Bob McKenzie, but he was actually put up a little bit more by NHL Central Scouting. They ranked him 19th amongst North American skaters, and it's really interesting because the NHL Central Scouting Services actually have Colton Dach as their third highest WHL player. Dylan Guenther and Carson Lambos are above Colton Dach in the NHL Central Scouting rankings, but Colton Dach is above guys like Logan Stankoven, Ryder Korczak, Connor Roulette, Olin Zellweger too. It's really interesting to see where NHL Central Scouting placed Dach on their own radar, because this kind of ranking has really put him into the spotlight a little bit more. So if you're taking a look at where Colton Dach is projected, according to NHL Central Scouting, 19th on the North American list is somewhere in probably the first 30-35 picks-ish if you include the European list. Could we see Colton Dach legitimately be a first-round talent in the 2021 draft? It's interesting because some outlets like FC have him at 100. That's not until the 3rd or 4th round. So it really depends on who you ask, but he is definitely an interesting enough prospect that you could justify, I think, taking a look at this guy somewhere within the top 50, if not the top 40. And as a little caveat to that, obviously, because this is the first prospect report we're doing this year for a guy that isn't really supposed to go somewhere in the top 10, all the guys that we have chronicled already are in that tier where if you really wanted to take them somewhere in the top 3, you could make that argument. You could say, okay, I really like Brandt Clarke. Let's go ahead with him at 4th overall. Oh, I really think Wallstead could be the next piece we need. Let's take him here at 5. Oh, I really, really like William Eklund. Let's take him 2nd overall. All the guys we've done so far are like that, in that conversation. Colton Dach isn't. So what exactly is it that pushes him down comparative to all the other guys we've talked about? Here's that same scouting report from the hockey writers. This paragraph over here talks about how he did play with some pretty high-octane WHL forwards in Tristan Robbins as well as Kyle Krankovic. There are also more holes to Dach's game that some scouts have concerns about, such as his acceleration and explosiveness, which could limit his ability to carry the play. But much like his brother, he can play well at every end of the ice. He'll play gritty and physical when necessary, or fire a long pass to set up a breakout play, or position himself squarely in front of the net, ready to catch a pass and put it by a goalie. A lot of players can do those things better, but few can do everything better than him. As the old adage goes, jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than a master of one. That's what makes Dach such an intriguing prospect, and why he has suddenly jumped up on some draft rankings, primarily NHL Central Scouting. The goal scoring helps too, by the way. That definitely does probably play a part into his higher ranking by the Central Services. And so if you're looking for a guy who is big, he's not afraid to get gritty, he's not afraid to go to the front of the net, he's got good shooting instincts, and he's got good goal scoring and tight, not to mention some pretty good passes once in a while to open teammates, then hey, why not take a swing on this guy anywhere in the middle of the 1st round, or maybe the end of the 1st round, maybe the start of the 2nd round, if he is there. He may not be an eventual #1 center like Kirby Dach is, but if you're looking for value in later parts of the draft, if this guy's available, hey, he was ranked above Stankoven of all people. Here's some quotables from the same hockey writer's website. The Saskatoon Star Phoenix wrote this about Colton Dach. He definitely has the size, the pedigree, the offensive game, and he's got an edge to his game as well. He's a versatile guy, able to play both center and wing, so I think he'll be a guy who really rises as we play this season, and he is ready to take on the challenge. This is what the Blades general manager said. And probably the report that I wanted to save till the very end here, this is what Joel Henderson of Future Consideration says about Dach. I see so much of Matthew Tkachuk in Colton Dach's game. Much like Matthew, just another half step of explosion in his stride would open up a whole new world of options for him. Very talented player. Understands the flow of the game so well. And you know, that's kind of one of the biggest things when I watch Colton Dach footage. It's like what Scouching said. You know how Kirby plays. You've seen what Kirby was able to do at the WHL level when he was a draft eligible. Believe me, I remember those days very well. And you kind of see a few similar aspects in the way that Colton plays. So if the Chicago Blackhawks, for example, are a team that has multiple second-round picks, which indeed they do, one from the Janmark trade, one of their own, would we see a Colton Dach, maybe, added to that squad? I don't know if it's even a fit or whatever. I'm just kind of spitting off the top of my head here, but when it comes to the prospects that aren't supposed to be top dogs, I think it's okay to take a little bit of a bigger reach in our conversation. So talk to me in the comments what you think about Colton Dach, this overall video over here. If you made it to the end, comment in the comments section below. Blade. Because we were doing superheroes and, like, villains and all that the entire time. So Blade, because he plays for the Saskatoon Blades, as well as Blade being a comic book character that is very cool. So talk to me in the comments what you think. Hope you enjoyed. This was Josh Rosen 99. And bye.